Hello everyone and welcome back. So in today's video we are going to be continuing with our series. So we were trying to build a machine learning project that was all about predicting electricity bill. So that was our project and we were working on it, but I think we had reached first I think model trainer. But along the way, I encountered some troubles or some challenges with the entire code, and so it made me to try to debug the code and try to find the challenges or the problems with that. And so, in the process, I decided just to drop everything and try to start afresh and try to correct the mistakes and try to present the code in a more systematic modular way. So I was able to achieve that, and I'm going to be showing you how we can correct those the challenges so that in future you might not meet, or if you encounter a challenge, you will be able to solve that. So this will be a little bit an upgrade of what we were doing in the previous videos, but it's not that really complicated. I hope you will follow through. And before we get started, if you're new to this place, or if you're a fellow data scientist, please consider subscribing to this channel. We are welcoming you to this wonderful community. Hit that notification bell so that you never miss any of our video updates. From now henceforth, I will be trying to doing this end-to-end machine learning project, starting from building or the scoping part, the building of the model, all the way up to deployment, and possibly introduce other tools that are necessary in terms of building a machine learning uh, a model, deploying it, and ensuring that it is correctly working in the field. So that's what we are going to be doing. So I'm going to start with the supervised learning, machine learning algorithms. Then in future, we can go to the deep learning algorithms, see how we can apply those into natural language NLP LLMs. Okay, so we are just going to start small, but add the skill as we progress forward and forward. Okay, so so with that, with all that said, so let's get started. So for the project, we're going to start. So I'm going to set up a GitHub repository for our code. So this will be GitHub will enable us to manage that. It's a central repository that will enable us to share this code with you. So I'm going to create a GitHub repository for this project. So you can just create an account if you don't have an account for GitHub. So just create an account and it will get you to this page. That is for the those who are new to this section. So create the GitHub, then it will bring you to this place. And once you're at the dashboard like this, then just create new, and it will create a GitHub repository. Then from that, we can just create repository name. So mine is electricity bills. Then with this, I'm going to for the electricity. Okay. My repository name is electricity bills. Then description will provide that later. So I want my repository to be public. So if you want yours to be private, then you can click private, but I want mine to be public so that I can share with you. Then after that, I can just add a README file. You'll see the usefulness of having a README file. Then I will add a git ignore file. So I'll specify the programming language that I'm using. So I'm using Python. Then I will also add a license. So GitHub advises you to include a license in your files. So I'm going to use, you can use any, but let me use MIT license for this. You can use Apache or any, depending on your choice. So after doing this, you can just create a repository by just clicking the create repository button. Then after you are done with that, this is the repository for this project that we will be doing. So once you have created your repository, then the next thing is all about cloning this repository to folder to your local machine, because they have to be working in tandem. Okay, so I'm going to show you how you can clone this repository to a local folder in your local machine. So I've created a new folder. You can see MLOps projects. So this is just a new folder, and I'm going to copy the link of this folder. So once you've copied the link, I'm going to open the command prompt, so CMD. So with the CMD, you can open the command prompt, and from this, we are going to now, it will enable us to clone that repository. So my folder is in the E drive. So in the E drive, you can just say CD and then just paste. You can see I've just pasted CD, so something like a command. Then we copied the file path. So I've just pasted the file path for that. When I execute enter, then from here, this is now when we do the git clone. So I'll just say git clone. Then when you type in that command, then you can just go back to your git repository. Then under this code, you can just copy this link. And once you're done with that, you can just go back to your command prompt. And after the git clone command, you can just paste your the link itself. Once you execute this, you can see it's cloning into the this repository. So I think this is okay. I think we have cloned our repository. So I'll just do clear this. Then I'll just close this. So you can see the MLOps project. You can see the electricity bills folder. We have created a folder for that. And when you open this folder, you can see the files, the gitignore, the license, as well as the readme file. So once you have done with this, then we can open an instance of the VS Code. So you can just again use the command prompt. So for the command prompt, you can just type code dot. So code dot, it will open a new instance of a VS Code. So for this project, we're going to be using the VS Code. Okay, we'll just do CLS and close this. So we will be using the VS Code for this project. You can also use any other IDE. I like Visual Code because it's lightweight. So after this, you can then open that folder that we created. So mine was in the new folder E drive, MLOps project, and this is the folder itself. So you can just open that, and when we open that, you can see that directly we have see that we do have the folder itself. So you can just say I trust this author, and that's okay. So once you're done with that, you can see that let me try to so we can let's say settings, can use the zoom. So zoom the font, so that's okay. So I'm just trying to zoom so that it becomes visible for you. So once you have done that, then the next step will be all about creating a virtual environment. So I'm going to create a virtual environment. With this virtual environment will enable us to run or install the necessary dependencies for the project itself. For example, if you want to use the pandas, those libraries, the scikit-learn, XGBoost, if you're using the XGBoost supervised learning algorithm, so you need to first have a virtual environment, and this virtual environment will enable you to install all the dependencies for your project. So I'm going to create the environment for that. So I'll just say conda create minus -p venv. So venv is the name of the virtual environment actually. So I'll just specify Python version 3.11. Then I can just use a notation there. So so that after retrieving all the files, with the notation it will just install them. Okay, so you can just install that. So as you can see, collecting the package and metadata and everything. So while this environment is being created, we can just create a new file here, the template. You can just say template.py file. So we are having a challenge with this. Environment, okay, so it's okay. Don't know why I'm getting this problem, but anyway, you can see that it's being installed. So no problem with that. So anyway, as this is taking place, so we'll just get a notification that will tell us that we have successfully created the environment. So as this is continuing to do that, I just create a new folder, template.py. So this template.py, we are going to create the project structure, and we are going to use this to create the files and the project structure itself. So the necessary files that are will be needed for our project, as well as the folders itself. Okay, so we can create them individually one by one, but I think that will take a whole lot of time. So let's just create a template file, then specify the file names and the file path, as well as the folders themselves. Then with just one command, we can execute it, and it will create those files and the necessary folders. Okay, so we'll just wait for this to complete as we create the template.py folder. So we'll start by, so I'll be using comments to enable you or to guide you as we progress with this. So let me just again, so say import the necessary. So we are going to first import the necessary libraries. So libraries. So that's okay. So I'll import OS, and also I'll also import the pathlib. So import pathlib. See, we notice. Can say yes. So import pathlib. No, from pathlib. Supposed to be from pathlib. Import path. So with this code, we'll just do the hard coding part. So I want so then define the package name. We are going to first define the package name, and for package name, we can say so package underscore name. So I'll just specify the name of this. Let's say electricity bill. That's the package name. So I think this one is done. You can see that to activate this environment, you can use this. So I'm just going to copy this command and just paste it here, and it will, when we execute this, it will activate this environment, and you can see we have the venv, something like a folder that is being created. Okay, so this is the venv, and with this, it's basically telling us that we have created our environment. So that's all about creating the environment. So let's proceed. So package name, electricity bill. Then we can list. So list the files to be created. So we are going to list the files that will be created, as well as the folders themselves. Okay. So let's start here. Then so let's do list underscore of files. something like this is a dictionary, a list. It's a list. So path. So dot GitHub. Then workflows. That's correct. So workflows. Then you can set this. You can say dot git keep. So this will be essentially this will be the GitHub workflow directory. I can just close this. This will be the GitHub workflow directory. Then after this, we are going to start with the source folder, that will contain all the source code. So I can say SRC. So SRC is just a short name for source. So you can say the package name. So package underscore name. Then okay, that's okay. Then for the first file, we can say underscore init underscore dot py. So when you use the init underscore init, when you use this file, it means that we are telling Python that this source code, this folder can be used as a package, so it can be imported into another file or folder. Okay, so that's that. Then you can also create another so src, so hyphen, then package name, name, and just do the same thing. So we are getting the first folder under the source. So src is a general folder, and under this, the src, we are also going to have different folders that will be having different files. The first folder is the components folder, and under the components folder again, since you are creating a folder, you need to use the init.py file to ensure that the components folder will be regarded as a package itself. So under components, remember we do have different for a machine learning system. We do have different components. We have the data ingestion component. We have the data ingestion, data transformation, data validation, the model trainer, the model evaluation. So we do have different components. So all those components will fall under the components folder. So for example, the first one will be, we're just going to repeat the same thing until here. So I can just copy this and paste inside. So the first file under, it will be a py file. So I'm going to create under components, I'm going to create the, so we can say c underscore 01. So component number 1, which is data ingestion dot py, c underscore 01 data ingestion dot py. We'll also create also another one will be, I think I can just sign into tab 9. So tab 9 is just like a GitHub Copilot. They're just working almost the same. So I just want to ensure I've logged in. So for this, you can just again copy this, and so data ingestion, data transformation. Okay, so C02, it will be data transformation .py. So C component number 3 will be data ingestion, data transformation. You can also say this one, let's say this to be C03, and this one C02, it will be about data validation. So data validation.py. So you can just copy this. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 3 key components. So C03, C04, data validation transformation. Then we can also add a model trainer. C03 model trainer. So component number 3, you can call it model trainer. So, and any other you can just add from this place. So let's for another, you also have another folder, which is the utils folder. Utils folder will contain the utils folder usually contains the common tasks that our project will require. So those common tasks, we just save them under the utils. So you can just say utils, and since we are creating a new folder, we need to also include the init underscore.py. You can just say underscore init underscore.py. So that's okay. Then the utils will contain, you can say, the commons folder. So you can just create a new folder, utils, and say commons. Commons.py, utils common.py. Okay. We will be setting up our configuration. So again, we set a new folder, config. So all our configurations will be under this folder. So again, init.py. And then we can just copy this again and say configuration. So configuration, that's okay. Another folder will be about the pipelines. So we can say the pipelines. So initially we do have different pipelines. So we can have the data ingestion pipeline, data validation pipeline, and all that, and so on and so forth. So for the pipelines, we need to create that. So pipelines is a new folder. So pipelines is a new folder. So we need to include the init.py. Then we can create, we can just do away with this. So pipelines. Then we just create a first pipeline, let's say P01. We can say before the data ingestion. So pipeline number 1 will be for data ingestion. Let's say pipeline number 2 will be for, let's see, you can just, pipeline number 2 will be for data validation. So that's okay. And so on and so forth. So you can just add those. Let's add the last one. So for pipeline number 3 will be for data transformation. That will be pipeline number 3 data transformation. So data transformation.py. So you can add the rest. So after the pipelines, we do have some, we'll be having some entities. So again, for the entities, you can just copy this code. Again, just paste it. There's a cpackage name, so entity. So for the entity, you can say, since it's a new folder, init.py, then you can copy this. So for the, again, entity basically will contain the configuration entities. So config entity .py. So we can just say configuration entity. Entity.py configuration entity. That's okay. Can also create another folder for constants. So again, can just say this package name constants init.py. Another one constants, so not init.py. Init.py. We can also, if you can have the exception, exception.py. Also, you can have the logger src. I think it just be the same thing. So let's copy this. Then you can say logger.py exception. Okay, so other files, you can have other files include the YAML file. So config, so config.yaml. So this one, from here you can see that we are not including the package name. So this won't be contained under the package name, which is the electricity bill. So this will be contained outside the source code folder. Okay. So for the params, YAML file can also have schema.yaml. So you can see some additional things that have been including in this folder. So you can also have the main.py file. So with the main.py file, it will be a central place or location where we can just execute our entire code. Although I will also set up, you can execute the individual components. So I'll make sure we execute the individual components, and we also have a place where we can just execute the entire code itself. Okay, so that's the main.py. We can also, we are going to create front face, and that will use Flask to create a simple web application. So that will be the app.py. So app.py. Also we have the setup. So the setup.py. Where we setup.py. In terms of the requirements, so the requirements.txt file. It will contain all the dependencies for our project. Requirements.txt. We also create another file, which is the research. I'll just say trials. Research, or say let's just use research. 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 Inside here we'll have trials folder. So trials.py, and then the research. Then we have the templates folder. So templates folder. Under the templates folder, we'll have home.html. We will also have then templates. So templates, here we also have home.py and the index index.html. So another thing, I don't think if we do have another folder or file, we'll just include them where necessary. So I think this one we are done with it. So templates, research, okay. So we write something below here. So when creating the list, we are going to loop through each file the list so that we create them. So for file path in lists underscore of files, list of underscore files, we are going to loop. So file path file path. Then now we can say sorry for that. Then now we can say we are going to split the file path into a directory as well as a file name. So for this, you can just say file directory, split that, and also the file name. Say os.path, specify os.path split file path. Then once we are done with that, we are going to create directories if they don't exist. Then you can say if file directory does not exist, or if it is something like empty that does not exist, then we can say os dot make the directory itself. Make this, just say file directory exist underscore okay to be true, supposed to be a comma, exist to be true, okay. Then here we're just going to create an empty file. So if it doesn't exist, or if empty. So remember, we are going to use the for loop to loop through the list in the files as we create those files. Then we need to be specific because we do have a file path and just a file name. So we have to split that. So split the file path into a directory and also a file name. So we are using this. Then create a directory. Directory is like a folder. So if create a directory if they don't exist. Okay. Then we create a file if it does not exist or it's empty. Okay. So if not os.path.exist path or os.path.get size file path. or if the file path of the necessary file is 0. Now the file size, dealing with the file size, then from there you can just say with open file path supposed to be open file path. Okay, so that's okay. Then just say pass. Okay. So this is how you can just create these files and the folders themselves without doing them manually. So after we are done with this, the only thing that we can do is just go to a new terminal. So let me try to zoom in. Then we can just open a new terminal. Under this new terminal, you can just say Python. Then we have the templates, template file. So Python, you can just say name the file. So Python template.py. So let's see if everything is okay. Comma. Make sure you have these commas at the end of each line so that it's able to specify the different files. YAML, py. Okay, so I think we're okay. Comma. I think we're okay. So when you enter, you can see that we can see now on this side you have the GitHub, the config. You can see config YAML. For the research, you can see you have the trials.py. For the SRC, you can now see we have the components folder with the necessary files. You can see we have the config with the necessary file, the entity. You can see the constants, everything. Okay. Also, the SRC folder itself, it does have the I think the utils. We created a utils file. This is the utils file. The electricity bill we did not create, so we need to create. Just wait a minute. We need to have, I think the SRC folder should also have a utils file. Okay, we need to create a utils file for the SRC folder. This one, just do it manually. We forgot about it. So for the SRC, we need to create a new file and say init_py. This file already exists. Let me see something. I think it's okay. Or we need to create one for the utils electricity bill as a folder, as a package name or a folder. Let's try that. So utils underscore init underscore.py. See, it also okay. SRC package name. What if we of this can start, let's try something. Can start with the instead of the package name, do this src init.py and try to execute this again. So Python, let's save this, control save. And just do this again. So when you do that again, you can see, yeah, now it's okay. Now the src as the source code itself, it has the init.py. That means it will be accepted as a package, and the electricity bill again as a package, it also has its own the init.py. So I think we are okay with that. So after we are done with this, we can then push this to our git repository. So you can say git add dot. So git add dot adds all the file. But if you just want to add one file, you can say git add and specify the name of the file. So git commit, you can do git status to see which files are we pushing. So these are the necessary files we are pushing to GitHub repo. And then after this, we can say git commit minus m. Then insert a message. You can say project files and folders. Then after git commit, we can do a git push. So git push minus u origin main. When execute that, we'll push these files and the necessary folders to a GitHub repository. So once this is complete, you can go back to your Git. When we refresh this page, you can see now we have our files, the necessary files and the necessary folders. Okay, you can see this one 30 minutes ago, this one now. Right, so after this, let's now I can just do away with this. We have our template, no problem. We have created our environment, no problem. So the next thing will be about the setup. So let's create our setup first. Let's create our setup.py. Then we install the necessary libraries, possibly maybe create or first create the logger, maybe the exception. Then you can see how we can proceed from there. So let's create our setup.py. So the setup.py, so start by importing the libraries. So with the setup.py, I had a folder somewhere that can easily tell us the necessary things with that. So let me see if I can get it. Okay. Documents. You can just search for it, but in the process, let's put the necessary libraries. So from setup tools, import find packages. So that's the setup. Then from typing import list. Then you can go and create some, let's say, version for our code. So version underscore, and specify this to be 0.01. So version 1, then src source repo. src, so I think this is the repository name. Repo, can just say electricity bill. electricity bill. You can then do the setup. So setup. For the setup, we do have things that we need to include. For example, the name of the code itself. So you can say name src repo, and also include the version. So with the version, we can say what we created earlier. So version. Okay. We can also add description. So for the description, and say this is a project to predict household electricity bill. Okay, so that's it. So another thing you can say author. So the author, I can use my name. So my name is Western. So that's my name. So author email. Email, you can use Uniqueworks email. So another thing we can use packages. And say find the packages. Pages like that. And from here we can also install the requirements. So for the requirements, this is the place where you are required to provide a list of the requirements. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to list my requirements in the requirements.txt file. In the requirements.txt file, and create a function that will read the dependencies from the txt.file and install those directly. So possibly in different projects you do have different types of dependencies. So listing them here won't be conducive for that. So you can just create a new file for that and list all your dependencies in that file. That for our case, that is the requirements.txt file. Then after that, create a function, read those dependencies and just install them from there. So we can just create that file. So we can say get requirements. So this will come from the requirements.txt file. So to be version. Okay. Another thing, I'm supposed to like that. So get requirements. So we don't have. So we create a function for the get requirements that will read those requirements. So def get requirements. Get the requirements. So file underscore path. So the file path. File path. str. No. So the list is supposed to be this one. So list, so that is it. And then create an empty list. So that will store the requirements like that. And with open file path. Let's say, with open file path as a file underscore obj as a file object. Then do requirements file underscore obj. But we are going to read the different lines under the in that file. So in our txt file, so read lines, then comments. Then when we are reading those lines, we're going to do some replacement. So we're going to replace a new line with an empty string. This one will be for the requirements in requirements. That's okay. So let's go to our requirements.txt file. Let's save this first. So requirements.txt file, and in the requirements.txt file, let's begin listing the dependencies. So like for example, the pandas, the numpy, and have seaborn matplotlib if you want them, flask, ipy kernel if we need using a Jupyter notebook. Another file is a Python box. We also use the YAML file, so file by YAML file. I will require joblib. We also need ensure annotations. We also need joblib ensure types by YAML. By YAML. Also, we need flask, pandas, numpy, matplotlib, ipy kernel, Python box, by YAML, joblib, ensure. Let's see if I'm missing something. XGBoost, I don't think. Okay, flask. It's okay. Matplotlib, seaborn. I think we are having that. So, and you need to put this as minus e dot. So I'll just explain you what the minus e dot is. But let's go back to this file. So remember, we have the minus e dot as a requirement in our requirements.txt file. So in the setup, we need to mention that. So hyphen e dot requirement. So that is hyphen e dot. So I'll just explain what the hyphen e dot is in a second. Let's just complete with this. So if hyphen e dot requirement hyphen e dot requirement. So if the hyphen e dot, this one is in our list of requirements, this one here. Okay, so what we can do, if that is in the requirements, basically we're just going to do away with that. So requirements dot remove, we're going to remove the hyphen e dot requirement. So hyphen remove this one. Okay, so putting the necessary libraries, the hyphen e dot requirement. You can see this is this one. So let me save this. Then let's execute this, and then I'll inform you about the necessary files, the why we are using different files and all that. Okay, I think this one is okay. It's okay. Install requirements. It's supposed to be install requires. Get requirements. So this function should be this. Then requirements. Requirements.txt. So I think that's okay. So I'm just looking to ensure that everything is okay. So from setup tools, import find packages, setup from typing import list hyphen e dot requirement, get requirements, file path string. This becomes a list of strings. Okay, the requirements. So open this file path. So requirements dot replace the new line. So the new line character with an empty string for requirements in requirements. So that's okay. If this one is in the requirement, you need to okay. So I think we are good with that. So let's install the dependencies. So for the dependencies, we can say that what am I missing? You can just open a new terminal, and from the terminal, we are going to install the list of requirements. We can just do the pip install -r requirements.txt. So let's install those requirements. Pip install -r requirements.txt. So as these files are loading up, let me inform you of those necessary files. So machine learning project files, all that. So we did have the setup, so we can know the setup.py file is used in the project to define how necessarily the project should be packaged, installed, and distributed in different environments. Under the setup file, we define the metadata, the name, the version, author, and all those, the description of the project, and all that. So that's under the where we define our metadata. You can also specify the dependencies, the scikit-learn, and all that. Okay. So remember, we missed one, the scikit-learn as a library. So we can just go back under our requirements.txt file. Before this, we can just add the scikit-learn library. It will be very important. So we'll just wait for this to complete executing or installing, then we can do the same process again to make sure we have the scikit-learn. Okay, so also we have the packaging project where you define which files and directories should be included in your package and all that. The distribution, the setup.py, you can distribute your project through the Python package this. So if you want to make your project as a module, then the setup.py is where you need to define that. Okay, in the requirements.txt, this one will specify the dependencies that will be required to run our code. As you saw earlier, we created those the dependencies are the libraries. If we are going to use the layman language, so those are the libraries, the modules that you will be needing in your project. So we created the requirements.txt file, place them there. Then using the setup, you can just call those libraries and install them. And in the requirements.txt file, we included the -e dot or -e dot. So the -e dot entity is a specific notation used in Python packaging to specify that the current directory should be installed as an editable package. That means if you're going to make changes in the package, we don't need to reinstall everything again. We just it immediately takes effect without needing to reinstall the package itself. So for example, you can see that we missed adding the scikit-learn library. Okay, so when we do this again, when we reinstall or do the pip install, it won't need us to again install this afresh. Okay, don't need this process of installing the other things afresh. We just install the scikit-learn because that is the new addition or the new modification that we have made from there. Also, we do have the SRC folder. This is the source folder. It's used to store the source code of the project itself. Okay, the entire project development will be happening in this file. So this is the shareable file that someone else, you can give it to someone else to continue to make changes, do debugging and all that. So all our folder will be containing the SRC folder, and in that folder where you can do you can share that folder and all that. Okay, remember we use the init.py file in that folder to ensure that that folder is treated as a package. Under the components folder in the SRC, as we know in machine learning, we do have different modules. For example, we have the data ingestion module, or the component, data transformation component, model training. So as you can see, these components will be housed under the SRC folder under the component folder in the SRC. Okay, so you can see the data ingestion for ingesting data, data transformation, doing the pre-processing tasks, or the trainer to train our model. So the pipeline, basically a pipeline is needed because when executing our code, or when executing the different components, so basically a pipeline joins one component to another, and it defines which steps needs to be executed first and last. So that's the pipeline. So you need to have these pipelines, because even when we are doing a model registry and all that, it will be necessary that the pipelines should be it is necessary so such that we are able to define which steps to be run first, or which process should be executed the last one. So we can have the training pipeline, the prediction pipeline, model validation pipeline, and all those will be contained under the pipeline folder. We can also have the logger that will set the logging record or information and messages for that, and the exception.py we can customize handling our errors, because the entire code, we don't expect to write a code from start to end without errors. So we need to define ways that we can call those errors and see which how we can do the code, how we can solve those errors. So that will be under the exception.py. With the exception.py, we do have the config box where you can think by that is already predefined how you can those errors will be raised. With the exception.py, this one you can create your custom exception.py, and you as the programmer, you can define how those errors will be raised. You also have the utils.py, the utility function. So these are the common tasks will be contained under the utils.py, so that we don't need to redo those processes over and over again. You can just call them from that file, then use them whenever they are needed. Okay, and we don't need to create them once we need them. Okay, so this is just a simple explanation of the different files that we need. Okay, so of course I didn't include the YAML, the params, the schema, but you'll just see how we will be applying those different files in our project. Okay, I think by now our project will have been done. So you can see error pip dependency, below this one, solver front foot. Okay, so you can see other dependencies were not installed. Okay, but I successfully installed this by passing maybe matplotlib requires this. Okay, so we do not include the matplotlib, so we can just the scikit-learn. We can also include the matplotlib as a library, the scikit-learn as a library. Any other are we missing? Let's include those. So let's do the pip install. So don't want to clear this, so just do the pip install -r. Make sure that when you have introduced a new libraries, you save that file. So pip install -r requirements.txt file. So requirements.txt. So pip install -r requirements.txt. So with the e-dots, you will see that we don't necessarily need to install this other libraries afresh. So it will just, you will see it will be telling us that these files you can see now the requirements already satisfied, numpy requirements already satisfied, so it won't need to reinstall these files again. You can see these requirements are already satisfied, so you won't need to install those until when it will be reaching to the module that is not installed. Then from there it starts the installation process. So as you can see, collection, this one is for the scikit-learn. You can see we are also for the matplotlib. You can see IPY kernel satisfied. You can see these are the things that were not installed under the matplotlib. So installing this, attempting to uninstall, successfully installed, running the setup, or develop your electricity bill project, found existing installation, and installing, then doing an okay. So I think you can now see how the -e dot in operation, this one, and why we leave it. It helps us in this, because imagine working in a project that you have 20, 25, even 50 or many dependencies. So you see, without having the e-dot, then every time you make a change in the dependency, you need to reinstall all those modules afresh. Okay, and that will be time consuming. So it's very easy to just use this e-dot annotation to help you with that. So let's complete this, and then we can do a git push to our repository. It might take some time. Just give it necessary time for that. So after this, what next? I think we can just do the logger parts. So we can just add the logger. We can just add the logger, and maybe call it a day. Then in the next section, we can start with now doing the necessary, the coding itself. Okay. So while this is running, let's we just give it some time for it to run. But let's go to our source folder. So in the SRC, we have the electricity bill. So under the electricity bill, this is where most of these components or necessary files are located. So there are two ways that you can use create the logger. So you can create the logger in terms of as a file itself, then import, or you can use the init method. In most of the cases, I think using writing your the login or the logger code in the init.py makes your work simpler. Okay, so you can either write it under the logger.py file or the init So for my case, for this project, I'm going to use the init. Okay, so we say that the init __ init makes the file as a package. So that means the logo will be recognized as a package, something like that. You can see successfully installed this one. I think that is done. So with the src, let's push this. So git add. So let's add those. So git status. So with the git status, we are able to see which folders we are going. We made changes in our setup.py and the requirements.txt. So we can say this one. We can say git commit -m. For the message, you can say project setup. Then after that, you can just from here we can just do the git push -u origin main. That's it. Git push -u origin main. So when you execute this, I think it's okay. Now it's okay. So let's work on the logging. So I'm going to import the necessary libraries. So I'll start to import logging. Import logging. Import OS. Also import sys. And from date time, import date time. We are going to define the log file name using say create or define. Let's use define. Using the current date and time. So for this case, say log file name. The log file is how we do it. So create a squiggly brackets. So this time dot now name dot now rf time. Then we specify the format. So then we have the month, then we have the day, supposed to be month, and this is supposed to be the month, day, then we have hour, then we have minutes. I think we're missing the year component. So our month, we'll do second. So here we can say here ms mh mdy. Okay, that's okay. Log, then create the path. The log file. So log file path. So log file path os.path dot join s dot get so the file path will be called logs. No, the file itself will be called logs. Log file name. Okay, then we create the logs directory. If it doesn't exist, so here you can say make directory os.path directory name, dir name log file path exist underscore okay 2. Then we do some configuration of the logger. We can say logger configuration. So logging dot basic config. Here you can specify the format. So for the format is sending time, I think. Sending time. And have the line number. Then we can have the name. Then we can also have the level name. And we can also have the message itself. So basically this is the log format. This is the log format. The level itself. So level logging info. That means only set up the only the info level messages will be erased. So this one is supposed to be logging.info. Also include some handlers. So file path. So this one will output logs to the file itself, the file that we have created up there. And we also need, you can also ensure, or you can also have login information under the terminal itself. So that is the Steam handler. Sys dot std out standard out. Output logs in the also output logs in the terminal or console. So we can have both. We can have both in the log file as well as the terminal itself. Okay, so end this by logger login get logger electricity bill. Okay, so let's try to import our logger using the main.py and execute it. So we can say from src dot electricity bill import login. Then you can say login dot info main folder. It's a simple message. Okay. Say ML project, main project folder. So let's see if execute this and see if it will be working. So from src you can say python main.py. Getting an error. Supposed to be get log. So you can see we are having we have created the logs file. So there was an error under the logging. So let's review it. Supposed to be logger like that. So let's run this again. Python main.py. So you can see that so for our logger is now working okay, and you can see we have two messages. Let's do this. So Python main.py. You can see we do have two. We have the logs file, this one here, and we also have in our terminal. We also have the logs file. So you can see we have this is the year, this is the time. Okay, and this is the level name. I think is 3. This one line number is 3. Sorry. Then the info message. We only say the info message will be erased. Okay, and in our logger again, you can see we are getting the same message again. So our logger is working okay. So that means the reason as why we are using the init underscore the init.py file. You can see we are now importing. If you search, I don't think there is any module like this. There's no module named, let's say, from the Python library and all that. You cannot find a module like this. So, but because we have the init, the underscore init file, so it considers the whole of this as a package so that we can import that and use that in different sections of our code. So you can see we imported this from SRC, the source code. Under that we have the electricity bill. So the electricity bill import logging, and we wrote a message like this. You can see we are getting an output from that. So that's okay. So I'm just going to delete this. It's not necessary. The logs, that's not a problem. Then we can just save this and close requirements, the setup. So after this, we can just again push this code to our GitHub repository. So we can say git add dot, and then we can say git commit -m. We can say logger. That's okay. So logger, then git push -u origin to main. Okay. So that's it. And then when you go back to our file, you can refresh this. So remember, we worked earlier on, we worked on the setup.py. So the setup.py, you can see this is the code for the setup.py. You can see for the requirements.txt file, you can see that these are the requirements that we needed. And in the logger file, under the init.py, it's supposed to be the electricity bill. The electricity bill does have an init, this one. So you can see that this is our code itself. So that's it for today. Once again, I'm very thankful for your time. And before we call it a day for today, again, please, requesting for your assistance. Please do subscribe to this YouTube channel, and please set up the notification bell so that whenever we have any content we are trying to push out, we are trying to upload, or sometimes we might go for a live session. So you will be getting notification for that, so that you never miss any of our videos. Once again, thank you for your time. Let's meet during the next session, where maybe we can try for example, we can do the setup, start with maybe the components and all that. So okay, so that's it. So that's it for today, and until next time, see you.